Hey Chevy Avalanche fans, guess what? Your Midgate has returned. For 2024, it drops the fun name, adds a gazillion pounds of batteries, and goes by the less fun name Silverado EV. But that's not quite fair, as this all-new electric pickup truck from Chevy does so much more than just flip open its midsection. We'll get to all that momentarily, but first, would you kindly click the subscribe button below? Everyone here at the Empty Garage thanks you. Electric pickup trucks are having something of a moment right now. Ford retrofitted their all-powerful F-150 with a stack of batteries, added a frunk, and called it the Lightning. Rivian unleashed the R1T with its friendly robot face and tech startup vibe. And of course, there's the hilariously hideous Cybertruck by everyone's favorite EV pioneer, Commander Musk. Is Chevy late to the party with its unimaginatively named Silverado EV? Yes and no. Yes, it wasn't the first one through the door, but no, because these electric pickup trucks aren't exactly flying off the shelves. Could that have anything to do with their six-figure price tags and the fact that batteries and towing go together like oil and water? I'm not smart enough to answer that question. And besides, the new kid on this block is pretty dang cool regardless, so let's dive in. As is the common practice in autodom these days, Chevy leads the way on its 2024 Silverado EV with the most highfalutin fancy pants model they've got. In this case, it's the first edition RST, and oh boy is it expensive. As in $96,495, including destination. Whoa. What does the flashing of this much cash get you? A lot. Sharing a platform with its massive GMC Hummer EV corporate cousin, the new Silverado EV is rocking the same Ultium battery architecture. In this application, that means a double-stacked party of electrified juice with 205 kilowatt hours of capacity. And it can charge in parallel or series. Neat! It powers a pair of permanent magnet synchronous AC electric motors, one at either end of the Silverado, via direct drive transmission. In other words, all-wheel drive comes standard. It's a powerful setup, one that makes up to 754 horsepower and 785 pound-feet of torque. However, to achieve those figures requires activating wide open watts, or WOW for short. Apparently, Chevy felt the need to follow GMC with its equally groan-inducing Watts to Freedom party trick, also known as WTF. Yeah, bro. At least the Bowtie brand decided not to claim absurd five-figure torque outputs like its bro-tastic Hummer counterpart. Get your wow on, and the 2024 Silverado EV will sprint to 60 in 4.5 seconds, according to Chevy. Though in car and driver's hands, it took only 4.1 seconds. That's pretty darn fast, especially considering the big Chevy weighs somewhere in the neighborhood of 9,000 pounds. Chevy won't say how much power the Silverado EV makes without WOW mode engaged, but the less expensive work truck version comes in at 510 horsepower, so probably somewhere in the middle. 0 to 60 times are fun to look at, but as this is an EV, driving range is paramount. And on that front, the Silverado delivers with 440 miles of range when the batteries are fully juiced up. That's the kind of metric that just might convince internal combustion fans to put down the gas station pump. As for charging, the Silverado EV is capable of DC fast charging at up to 350 kilowatts. This translates to 100 miles of range in 10 minutes. Of course, that's predicated on actually finding a station and hitting this charge rate, which is not a given. But if you could, Chevy says it's possible. For the more likely scenario of charging at home, you're looking at adding about 34 miles of range per hour. That's on level 2, of course, or 240 volts. So what if you don't have a gleaming garage with a perfectly mounted level 2 charger like Chevy shows in its press photos, and you're planning to just plug the Silverado EV into a regular household plug? Well, technically it will charge the battery, but how long would it take to fill up? Start by measuring in days instead of hours. Oh boy. Now, how about the lines on this 9,000-pound Silverado? It's sleek and menacing. Very Bulldoggy. The front end is massive. It's also clearly spent a lot of time in the wind tunnel. Chevy claims it has one of the lowest drag coefficients of any production full-size pickup, which seems reasonable. Only offered as a crew cab, the Silverado EV clearly draws a line to its dearly departed Avalanche brethren, with the way the roofline angles down to the bed. Of course, the return of the Midgate is an even clearer call to the past, but that's no bad thing, as this trick piece extends the 5-foot 11-inch bed to allow for up to 9-foot long stowage. though that does mean opening up the cabin to the elements unless you opt for a tonneau cover. The rear glass can even be removed for maximum open rear-end driving. Very cool. If you need even more length, the Swiss Army-style multi-flex tailgate articulates in a variety of ways to stretch cargo hauling length out to nearly 11 feet. Impressive. Around front, the lack of a gas-powered engine means a sizable frunk is on hand. Measuring about 11 cubic feet in volume, it's got a power-operated cover, internal tie-downs, drain holes, and 120-volt power outlets. Tailor-made for tailgating, it seems. About the big elephant in the room, those wheels. Holy cow. You're looking at 24 inches right there, folks. Chevy doesn't seem to make a big fuss about this, but good lord, that's insane. Rolls-Royce is known for its big swinging rims that measure 23 inches, but on a Chevy pickup, they certainly look amazing, filling out the wheel wells with serious bigness. But if you thought ride quality sucked on 20s, these monsters promise to crash through potholes with true misery, not to mention replacement cost. No cheap date, that's for sure. But this is my 40-year-old dad personality talking. Screw logic and practicality, the Silverado EV says. If it looks cool, it must be good. Normally I would be impressed at 14.5-inch brake rotors, but with wheels this massive and 3 tons of fun rolling on top of them, it somehow seems undersized. Moving right along, the suspension on the electric Silverado is fully independent. Adaptive dampers and air springs are fitted all around, which should help in the ride comfort department. And four-wheel steering will for sure help maneuver this land yacht at parking lot speeds. Should you be nuts enough to explore the 113-mile-an-hour top speed, that rear steering should also help with stability. Inside the Silverado EV, you'll find vinyl seats, which I needed to double check as that seems somehow a bit too chintzy for a $96,000 truck. But that's the case. Finished in black with a bit of blue and red stitching, these seats are at least heated and ventilated up front. Heat extends to the steering wheel and rear outboard cushions as well. Looking up, drivers will see an all-glass roof, one that is fixed in place, without a shade. Chevy notes it is dark tinted and solar absorbing glass, but somehow it seems like it'll be wanting a shade on a particularly sunny day. We'll see. Looking ahead, drivers will note the expansive digital landscape along the dash. The all-digital gauge cluster abuts a positively enormous 17.7-inch infotainment interface. Google is built in and ready to listen to your every command and possibly read your thoughts. But Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have been banished. From this drab, vinyl-coated throne, drivers can command tech like Super Cruise. Along with driving for you, it'll even change lanes automatically, at least on the roughly 400,000 miles of North American roads it's programmed for. Then there's the 14-inch multicolor head-up display, the digital rearview mirror, the self-parking system, and the blind spot monitoring brain that can move the steering wheel if it thinks you're going to sideswipe a neighbor. Exciting. Another exciting and possibly weird development with Chevy's new pickup is how you turn it on and off. Using digital key tech, there's no need for a physical key. In fact, there's apparently no need for an engine start-stop button anymore either. Instead, owners will press the brake pedal to fire up the battery pack. Turning it off will entail putting the truck in park and opening the door. I'm sure the Silverado EV will helpfully beep, vibrate, honk, and flash to remind you when it's on or off. But this little procedure seems destined for comical screw-ups in the hands of owners. We'd of course be remiss to not talk about towing with the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV. After all, that's what a pickup truck is for, right? Chevy says the new Silverado can pull up to 10,000 pounds of trailering stuff and has a 1,500-pound payload. And the instantaneous torque provided by the big battery pack under the Silverado EV is ideal for getting up and going with a big load out back. However, when Car Driver performed a bit of tow testing with the Rivian R1T, F-150 Lightning, and Hummer EV pickup, a common theme emerged. That being the fact that driving range falls off a cliff when EVs are lugging a trailer. The Ford used in the test had an EPA range of 300 miles under normal conditions. Hooked up to a trailer, that range dropped to just 100 miles. It was a similar story for the other electric pickups. So be sure to know where the nearest charging station is should you choose to do a bit of towing with your new toy. Whether that station will be equipped to accommodate a full-size pickup with a 20-foot trailer off the back is a different question. But hey, enough whining about the potential pitfalls of the 2024 Chevy Silverado EV. Instead, we should be lavishing it with kudos. I mean, credit is due for figuring out how to build a vehicle of this dimension and power it for well over 400 miles on batteries alone. Is it ridiculously inefficient compared to, say, a Prius? Oh yes, yes it is. But General Motors is attempting to make good on its promise of erasing internal combustion in favor of EVs ASAP. Time will tell if they're able to pull it off. But in the meantime, I wouldn't mind getting behind the wheel of the Silverado EV to find out what slinging 9,000 pounds of metal to 60 miles an hour in 4 seconds feels like.